In the golden plains of the Sahel, where the vast savanna stretched endlessly beneath a cloudless sky, lay the ancient and prosperous kingdom of Zazzau. The kingdom, modern-day Zaria in Nigeria, was one of the most significant powers in the region. Rich in culture, wealth, and history, Zazzau was known not just for its stunning beauty, but for its strategic location along key trade routes, which made it a crossroads for merchants from distant lands. Yet, the true power of Zazzau lay not just in its riches, but in the strength of the people who ruled it, particularly a remarkable queen whose name would echo throughout history. Queen Amina, born in the mid-16th century, was destined for greatness. From an early age, she was aware of the fierce world around her. The kingdom of Zazzau, like many other African kingdoms, was often beset by external threats. Rival kingdoms sought its wealth and resources, and invaders often tested its defenses. Amina's father, King Nikita, ruled Zazzau with wisdom and strength, but he also faced constant challenges from neighboring states, including the formidable kingdom of Kebbi to the west and the aggressive forces of Gobir. Amina was no stranger to the intricacies of warfare and diplomacy. From a young age, she would sit in the royal court, listening to her father and his advisors discuss strategies for defending and expanding the kingdom. But it wasn't just her father's voice that she listened to. It was the voices of the warriors, generals, and military leaders who came to court seeking counsel, as well as those who trained in the royal stables and on the fields. As a child, Amina was not like the other royal girls who focused on domestic arts such as weaving and preparing meals. Instead, she spent hours with the kingdom's finest warriors, learning how to wield a sword, ride horses, and study the art of battle. The men who trained her were fierce and respected, and they saw in Amina not just a princess, but a future leader, a queen who would not sit idly in a palace, but would lead her people with strength and courage. Amina's training was intense, and she proved to be a quick study. Her grace with a spear and her ability to command a horse were unmatched. Over time, she earned the respect of the warriors who once doubted a woman's place on the battlefield. They soon saw that she was not only capable, but a fierce and skilled tactician. Her ability to understand and adapt to the world of politics and war was remarkable, and her leadership began to shine through in ways that even the elders of Zazzau could not ignore. As her father's health began to decline, the threat of an unstable future for the kingdom grew more immediate. King Nikita had no male heirs. Amina's brothers had died at a young age. With the kingdom's future in jeopardy, the Council of Elders turned to Amina, seeing in her the strength and intelligence required to lead Zazzau through its troubles. Despite the traditional expectations that only man could ascend to the throne, the elders of Zazzau made the unprecedented decision to crown Amina as queen. This bold choice would forever alter the course of Zazzau's history. At the age of 16, Amina was crowned queen, and immediately, her reign began with a challenge: securing the kingdom's borders. Zazzau, while wealthy and strong, was surrounded by powerful enemies. Gobir, a kingdom to the west, constantly coveted the trade routes that passed through Zazzau. Its king, a shrewd and aggressive ruler, saw Zazzau's wealth as an opportunity to expand his own kingdom. This looming threat could not be ignored. Amina knew that she needed to act swiftly and decisively, or her kingdom would fall under the control of outside forces. Her first order of business was to strengthen Zazzau's defenses. The capital city of Zaria, the heart of the kingdom, had already been fortified to some degree, but Amina envisioned a much stronger and more impenetrable defense. She ordered the construction of towering walls made from stone and reinforced with iron. Watchtowers were erected at key points, offering a view of any approaching threat. The gates were reinforced with thick iron bars, and her best engineers worked tirelessly to ensure that Zaria's defenses would withstand any siege. These fortifications, which would become some of the most impressive in West Africa, were not only a physical manifestation of Amina's leadership, but also a symbol of her commitment to protect the people of Zazzau. But Amina knew that defense alone would not guarantee Zazzau's safety or prosperity. In the world she inhabited, power was built on both military strength and strategic alliances. Thus, while she focused on improving the kingdom's defenses, she also turned her attention to expanding her territory. Zazzau controlled key trade routes that were vital to the economy of the Sahel, but these routes were also highly contested. The Kingdom of Gober, with its powerful army and ambitions of expansion, would need to be dealt with if Zazzau was to maintain its position as a central trade hub. It was against Gober that Amina led her first military campaign. The Gober king, seeing Amina's rise to power as an opportunity for conquest, launched an attack on Zazzau. However, what he underestimated was Amina's military genius. She was not just a capable warrior. She was a brilliant strategist. She knew that Gober's forces, while powerful, would not expect an attack from the shadows. Under the cover of night, she orchestrated a surprise strike against the Gober forces, catching them completely off guard. The battle was fierce, but Amina's forces, under her direct command, triumphed. The victory was not just military, it was symbolic. It showed that Amina was not a queen who would rule passively from a palace, but one who would lead her people into battle when necessary. But Amina did not stop there. Rather than simply returning to her kingdom after her victory, she pursued the remnants of Gober's army into their own territory. She crossed rivers and deserts, bringing her forces into Gober's heartland. Through cunning tactics and unrelenting pressure, she captured key towns and trade routes. Zazzau's borders expanded, and the kingdom grew stronger. In the years that followed, Amina waged further campaigns against neighboring kingdoms, expanding her reach and solidifying her power. Her forces conquered lands that were once considered untouchable, and her name became feared across the region. Despite the military conquests, Amina's wisdom extended far beyond the battlefield. She knew that alliances would secure Zazzau's future as much as victories in war. After each military campaign, she sought peace with her neighbors, offering terms that would benefit her kingdom while ensuring that Zazzau's influence stretched far beyond its borders. With these strategic alliances, she turned enemies into trade partners and expanded Zazzau's economic power. As Zazzau grew in wealth, Amina turned her attention to the infrastructure of the kingdom. She established marketplaces where traders from across West Africa would come to exchange gold, ivory, salt, and other precious goods. Zazzau became a crossroads for merchants from as far as the Sahara to the tropical forests of the south. Under her leadership, Zazzau not only became one of the wealthiest kingdoms in the region, but also one of the most culturally rich. Scholars, artists, and musicians were encouraged to visit Zazzau, and the kingdom became a center of learning and innovation. Amina's reign was marked not just by military conquest, but by cultural flourishing. Her palace in Zaria became a beacon of knowledge, where poets, musicians, and thinkers gathered to exchange ideas and stories. Amina's success was not only in her strategic foresight and military genius, but also in her ability to inspire loyalty and respect from her people. She was a queen who led from the front, fighting beside her warriors and sharing in their hardships. She understood that the strength of her kingdom was rooted in the strength of its people. She was a ruler who listened to the concerns of her citizens, a queen who worked tirelessly to ensure that Zazzau would thrive for generations. Her military campaigns continued, and under her rule, Zazzau expanded to encompass territories that stretched far beyond what had ever been imagined. The Kingdom of Zazzau became a dominant force in West Africa, and Queen Amina's name became synonymous with power, wisdom, and strength. Her walls, her military strategies, and her unwavering determination transformed Zazzau into one of the greatest empires the region had ever known. As Amina grew older, she never lost sight of the importance of her people and her kingdom. Even in the twilight years of her reign, she continued to rule with the same ferocity and vision that had defined her early years. She would pass away, but her legacy, the kingdom she built, the victories she won, and the cultural renaissance she fostered, would live on for generations. The walls of Zaria still stand today, a testament to the strength and foresight of Queen Amina. Her story continues to inspire not just those from Zazzau or Nigeria, but people from all corners of the world who hear of the warrior queen who led with wisdom, fought with courage, and ruled with a vision that changed the course of history. Amina's legacy reminds us that leadership is not determined by gender or tradition, but by strength of character, vision, and the willingness to fight for what is right. Her name lives on as a symbol of female empowerment and leadership, not just in Africa, but across the globe.